So we finally figured out the name of the podcast just 5 seconds ago, which is kind of nice. I'm pretty proud of ourselves. And we're gonna be calling it Pen Pals. Not only because we use pens to draw, but also because we're pen pals in real life. Kind of digital
Works on
pen
several
pals.
levels. Hmm. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a modern millennial way of being pen pals.
So, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're talking about subjects we like to draw.
Hmm.
Because I feel like even though we speak pretty often, well, I kind of know more or less what kind of things you like to draw most because I interviewed you, but I don't think I've ever talked to you about the subjects that I prefer drawing.
Hmm. Yeah. We'd love
I,
to know more, especially because you did not tell me ahead of time.
oh, this is
You
true. This
wouldn't
is
let me
true.
know.
We're keeping the suspense so that you can, learn things about me just as
Hmm.
everybody else who's listening, which is it's kind of nice, kind of
Suspenseful.
exciting, I guess. But I
I'm at
want
the
to
edge of
talk.
my seat. I'm
I want
almost
to
falling
talk
off.
about you first, because
Oh, I gotta go first.
yes, you gotta go
Okay.
first.
I see how it is.
Yes, because
Uh-huh.
you're my guest. You're the
Hmm.
guest of the show. So it would be rude for me to be like, okay, now we're talking about me.
For me, pretty obviously, it's definitely portraits. Um, they've always been kind of special to me. I think I mentioned in our first, the podcast where you interviewed me. I think it was like in high school. I started drawing portraits, kind of like late at night when I was kind of just wanting a break from school and homework and everything. But yeah, I kind of got into it then. But then I think over time it actually, so before I knew myself better, I kind of grew up thinking that I was a guy, and portraits were actually kind of the one safe place I could explore femininity. So it was actually, I don't know, it was just, um, I've never spoken about this stuff out loud, so I don't have a practice thing.
It's actually
Um,
kind of interesting. I never thought about it that way. Like how drawing could be, I mean, it does make sense when you say it, but like how it can be a bit of like exploration, self-exploration without really knowing or like doing it on purpose.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, and it can be on purpose too.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, and then since then, I think I've used it in a similar way to explore, like, what I'm attracted to, what sorts of, styles do I want to have myself. Um, yeah, I don't know. It feels like a very safe place to explore, you know, kind of new
Yeah.
ideas or feelings within you.
Since you began drawing portraits, did you lean towards drawing people that you already knew or people that maybe you looked up to or just random faces that you liked like visually?
And mostly just faces that I liked. Um, and I feel like lately I've been thinking like, oh, I should probably draw like actual people. Would probably help me gain a little bit more traction. But
So you're saying the people that you're drawing are not actual people, they're just like aliens or something like that?
they're all aliens. They're all
Yeah.
from Mars. Um,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mostly just like images from online. But since joining the kind of the Instagram art community, more often I've been drawing like actual people, which has been
Hmm.
fun. You know, because then like it's like an actual person. You're not just drawing some rando in a face.
Yeah. Like you know who you're drawing, right? Like sort
Yeah.
of know their Instagram or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm. It's kind of cool.
Yet to draw you. I've I've told you I've attempted several times, but I've never been happy enough with the mock-up to continue.
Actually, today I took a picture using a filter from Instagram
Hmm.
that gives you like a face tattoos and a neck tattoo. And I was like, man, I should send that to Andrea because she's gonna like
See,
that and kind of looks like your aesthetic.
I saw that when
Oh,
I
you
was out
know,
getting, yeah. It's a good look. It's a good look. I'll say
it has made me rethink my entire life. I
that.
never knew I liked neck tattoos so much, and now I'm like, I
I don't know. It's like such a cool aesthetic. I feel like
yes,
face tattoos a little much on most people, but like
yeah.
I don't know, just like having prominent like designs on your body is like I don't know. I think it's super super cool.
Which is funny because we both really like how it looks, yet we both neither of us have tattoos,
There, yeah.
anything at all. So it's
Oh,
like,
we're just chicken.
when are we doing this? We should definitely do it together.
Yeah, we'll just do like stick and poke, learn how to do it.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe.
Actually, I don't know if you heard my, not my last one, because when this goes live, there's gonna be one more, but
Mhm.
my interview with Nana, she was talking about how she learned to tattoo people because she wanted to tattoo herself, which is kind of
Oh,
super awesome.
oh, yeah. Oh, how would that work? I guess you could. You
I
just have to like
mean,
kind of keep focused while
yeah.
feeling any like discomfort. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like tattoos as I mean, everybody's experience, of course, is going to be different, but I feel like for me at least, um, getting a tattoo is a lot more complicated just because I feel like I have a lot of opinions about visual stuff and designs, and like I would hate to get something that I'm really jazzed about right now, but then later, like my
Yeah,
aesthetic sort of changes, and I'm like, oh, I kind of hate this thing.
that's actually one of the reasons why I haven't gotten one. It's just because I'm afraid I won't like it in the future too.
Yeah.
But they say there's this rule where you, if you want to get a tattoo, you should think about it, write it down, and wait 5 years. And if you still are super stoked about the idea, just to
Five
get it.
years, dang.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Shit.
you are getting something quote unquote permanent, right? You
Mm,
can do the laser thing and get it removed, but
yeah, that's difficult. I've wanted like a sleeve for maybe like 3 or so years. Like seriously wanted one. I got 2 more years to wait, I guess.
yeah, you just gotta
That's the
wait
math on that.
2 more years. And there you go.
2023.
Yeah, that would work. Have you ever tried to explore any other subjects, or are you just really, really happy with just drawing portraits?
I'm fully captivated with portraits and faces. Yeah, there's just like such a huge, there's just so many creative possibilities for what you could do with, expression, right, like facial expressions, but also just like, the person
Yeah.
expressing themselves, their style. Um, I don't know. I just feel like it's like this very densely packed area of our body where we like communicate and like kind of represent ourselves. Like,
Hmm.
because like when we're talking, we don't like stare at each other's feet. Well, maybe you do, but
Maybe some people do.
most of us, some of us, look at the face, and
Yeah. Or the camera in this case,
exactly,
forever.
exactly.
Post pandemic.
I'm never coming out of this hole. No. Um, it's just a very important place for, I guess, sharing yourself. So
Hmm.
I feel like there's just like infinitely so much you can do.
Well, yeah, one thing that's actually super cool about faces is that nobody looks the same as anybody else.
Yeah, not necessarily the, like proportions and stuff, but kind of more the styling, like basically like the accessories. So like,
Mm,
piercings, tattoos, hairstyle, facial hair if you draw people who have that. I usually don't.
hmm.
Yeah.
So is that your
I feel
favorite
like
part?
that's more about like who the person is and like how they're
Mm.
representing themselves rather than just like
So
what
you,
they were born with, which is,
yeah.
can be like, interesting or like attractive, but it's not communicating much about who they are or if they like belong to any groups or anything.
Hmm. So it seems like you're trying to capture somebody's identity just with their face almost, right? Because you're using accessories and tattoos, so it's like capturing somebody's essence.
I guess.
Or am
Yeah.
I wrong in
Yeah.
assuming
Yeah.
that?
About.
Yeah.
You're around. Yeah. About. Yeah. I mean, I think or for me in particular, I love capturing sort of like queer styles, or kind of like tomboy styles. So like what I
Hmm.
was saying before of like exploring what I'm attracted to or what I myself want to, display. That's how it all kind of connects.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
do find it hard to draw people right? Because it's been a
It's infinitely freaking harder. You have to get the likeness right, which is like so painstaking.
yeah, it's true.
I used to do that more. It's just
Yeah,
not fun. It's
I
more like
agree.
analytical work.
It's really hard to capture people, and I don't enjoy when I do have to draw somebody. I mean, I do enjoy drawing them, but the
Mhm.
process is infinitely harder because I'm a bit more critical of what I know doesn't look like the person.
Yeah. Do you like, is this for like commissions primarily?
I mean, I have made commissions for people that I know,
Mm.
which
Oh,
are
that you personally know. Oh, okay.
yeah, that
Okay.
I've personally know. When I do commissions of people that I don't necessarily know but are just clients, I feel a little bit less tense about it because I don't really know them, so I'm not as critical about
Mhm.
making them exact copies of those
Yeah.
people.
And you don't have like an understanding within you of like what they look like.
I don't have a perception of them, so it doesn't affect my drawing that much.
Well, I'm curious, what you like drawing the most.
It
I
changes
mean,
for
I
me.
see what you draw, but sometimes what you like drawing can be a little bit different than what you draw the most of.
Yeah, I think it changes for me. I haven't really stuck to anything for a prolonged period of time. When I was younger, I used to draw a lot of animals. I used to really like drawing horses for some reason and butterflies.
Mhm.
And
So
then
sort of more creatures.
yeah, just I don't know, maybe I was more in touch with nature at that time. I was living here on the island where I am.
Mhm.
So I would see animals more often, including horses and all other kinds of weird animals, like things that you don't normally see in a city. Like my neighbor had turkeys and deer and
That's funny.
chickens and yeah.
Yeah.
So I
I
would
feel like when I
see,
was a kid, I mostly drew animals too.
oh, you did? Well, I think that's kind of common also.
Yeah.
Most kids like to draw animals, and I would love to draw animals. And then at some point, I got it in my head that I wanted to be a fashion designer or something when I was around
Hmm.
9. And I drew a lot of
Hell yeah.
dresses. I do
Yeah.
so many dresses and like bathing suits, and now looking back at them, they're
Yeah, that makes
horrid.
sense. Because like I feel like you definitely, it seems like you definitely have fun with the outfits of your characters that you draw.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well,
I didn't
yeah.
know that. That's funny.
Yeah, no, not I don't think I've ever said anything about that. And then
It's a
and then
secret.
I started drawing like probably just fan art of things I used to watch that maybe of my teens was when I used to watch anime the most. So I would draw, you know,
Mhm.
Goku or any character from Sailor Moon. Today I actually drew a fan art of a anime show I used to love that was called Kaleido Star.
Mhm. Was
Um,
it? Did you like just post it? 'Cause I remember seeing something,
yeah,
something like
I
that.
I posted it today in my Insta stories, I think. So yeah, I then I had a period of like fan art, and then when I started getting into watercolors, I drew a lot of like surreal stuff, um, which I know it doesn't seem like I would, but I did like very surreal things, just things that didn't make much sense. I was very much influenced by Salvador Dali.
Mhm. I was gonna
Um,
ask, does the, I don't know what to call it, the um, genre of magical realism? 'Cause I know that's big in the Mexican world.
oh,
Does,
that's
does
funny
that
you say that.
extend to visual art, or is that more writing?
Well, it's funny you say that. I was going in that direction because at the time I started drawing surreal things. I
Mhm.
don't know if it necessarily translates to magical realism, but I was reading a lot of magical realism literature from Latin
Mhm.
America because it's very predominant here.
Yeah,
And
like
maybe that's what
the
influenced
main
me.
guy. Uh,
Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's like one of the most famous ones.
Mhm.
But I don't know. At that time, I was very much influenced by that. That was the type of literature I used to read a lot. And then digital art came into my life, and I think that was a period of time where I stopped consuming the most content, like show wise or movie wise, book wise, because I started working full
Mhm.
time, and I would only doodle random like comic cartoons. And then
This is the some of the stuff you posted on the webtoons, is it?
no, actually not. It was just doodles. This is funny. I don't think I've also said anything about this, but when I started doing digital art, I never intended to post any of it. I was
Mhm.
kind of really into the idea that my art was very much just for me. I didn't
Hmm.
even want to sell art at that time. Didn't want to
Yeah.
like make it a business at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how like a lot of interests start, you know. I mean, like,
Hmm.
I guess you can get into something because you think it could be a long-term thing in your life, but usually it's just because you just simply enjoy it.
Yeah. And I wasn't very good at digital art. It took me a very long time to get used to it. It was just so different from traditional art. Well,
Um,
basically, I don't want to go into like a long tangent, which I probably have already started doing, but just when I started getting better at digital art, I really started getting into studying the human anatomy, portraits, and bodies. And I started doing that for a very long time. And now, currently, I'm exploring the world of creating my own characters, my original characters. And I've been having a lot of fun with that. Um,
which is
but
very different than just simply
yeah,
drawing like existing things,
it is very
I
different.
imagine.
I never imagined it would be a bit hard to consistently draw original characters because you don't have any real world reference for them. So you have to kind of make the reference for yourself.
Mhm.
But
So
it's very fun.
like what you were doing earlier this week with making a sheet of like different
Mhm.
angles. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes a ton of sense. It completely boggles my mind how talented some people are that they can just like they understand a character's proportions so well that they can do it in any angle and stuff. Like it's in
Mhm.
here rather than, you know, referencing something existing.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't
I
think I'm
do
there.
not have that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm there at all. Did
Mhm.
you ever see those videos of like how Disney animators would draw certain characters? I don't know if it was ever on TV or if it was just videos that I watched on YouTube, but sometimes they'd show clips of like animators who knew how to draw characters from memory and they knew the proportions of like Mickey Mouse or I don't know, SpongeBob SquarePants and they could draw them like
Yeah.
at any
Okay,
angle.
but that's different than like a purely like human, you know,
True.
because that's a cartoon character. Like if SpongeBob's eyes are like a little bit bigger,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna notice. But if on a person the eyes are a little bit bigger, ooh,
Yeah,
you're
it's
gonna notice.
true.
It's gonna look funky.
You're right. You're totally right. Because I remember, well, because I
Right?
remember they would be, yes, I said Andrea's right. Because I remember they would be like, so to draw, I don't know, like Mickey Mouse, you draw a circle here and two circles there. And then, they knew proportions because they're made up of very simple geometric shapes.
Hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, a human is a bit more complex. So it's really hard to do that for sure.
more complex than our brains. Um, a big part of our brains are dedicated to, you know, analyzing and looking at and recognizing faces.
Yeah.
For
It,
me, I like, you know, to jump back into portraits. That's why I think portraits are so interesting and fun because they're so challenging. Um,
they
it's
are.
rewarding when you get it right, and then also very small changes can have very drastic um, impacts.
Well, yeah, very drastic implications for sure. Just proportions in general, when you're drawing them, can change a person like in a second. Just one bad stroke and it doesn't look like the person you're trying to draw.
Yeah, if you just like draw a line through their face, it looks horrible. What the heck? What?
Is there
So,
any
what do you
part
enjoy drawing most these days,
with faces?
or just in general? Are you finding character design to be the most satisfying, interesting, or
I think,
I know you're doing environment work too, which is
yeah,
cool.
I've been working on that. Just trying to do things that I'm not very comfortable with. So this year I've been doing a lot of backgrounds and also male subjects.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's
What are
hard.
those? Never heard of that.
Never drawn them. Yeah, it's hard to draw things you don't draw often. And I think I've been able to figure out what ultimately will be my favorite thing to draw when I master a lot of things like backgrounds and different body types and age groups and even genders.
Hmm.
And that
Which
is
is
yeah, sorry. And that
drum roll.
is
To be revealed in the next episode.
oh
Tell me
my
later.
God,
Blah,
would
blah,
you
blah.
imagine just leaving them on a cliffhanger? No.
I would not come back.
I like to draw pictures that tell a story, sort of like a scene
Mm,
from a movie that you can look at and you can sort of figure out what's going on.
mm.
I
I feel like a
really
lot of
like
like
that.
older paintings have that, where it's like a full scene, and like
Hmm.
that's probably why they became so famous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just telling stories through one single image is what I
Mhm.
would ultimately love to be able to do. Good, like properly. Tell me something. I don't think I've ever seen any of your drawings have more than one single face. And then would you ever like to try and make like two people in one single drawing?
uh,
Well, two
yeah,
faces.
that would be cool. Some artists are skilled enough where they can just like draw a person in any pose. I just haven't put in the time to learn how to do that. So most of the time, I just go purely off photos for referencing posing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I haven't found a lot of reference poses with two people that I really like. I'm definitely interested in it.
Yeah.
Actually, a while ago, I do 3D art stuff for my main job. So I actually took two people 3D models and was like trying to pose them. Made some progress, but I don't know. It wasn't enough where it was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, have you ever tried taking pictures of yourself for a reference? Or is that too weird?
that's an idea. Um, hmm, yeah, because there's two of me, so I could
Well, I've done it
yes, I don't know.
and it's funny because sometimes you want to draw a subject that just does not look like you or your body type or anything like that.
Mhm.
But the fact that you have that a specific pose or angle really helps you like fill in the gaps of whatever it is that you are trying to draw.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I feel like I can find enough um, poses of the people I want to draw where I don't
Hmm.
feel like that's necessary.
Mm, okay,
Mm.
gotcha. Yeah,
But I would like love to do like photography stuff, like portrait photography.
that would be
There's
really
so
cool.
much fun.
I could.
Because like you can like set up the lighting and
Hmm.
the subject, and then take like a million pictures versus
Yeah,
like spending hours making one image that may or may not turn out.
this is true. I mean, I could definitely see you taking pictures of like cool portrait pictures of people. And I was gonna say this before you even mentioned it, but I feel like with your art, you have a very maybe intuitive way of making drawings that look how to say this, like from a graphic design point of view, very harmonious. Is that a word?
Hmm.
Like there's harmony.
Hmm.
Composition wise, your drawings are very satisfying. Whereas I feel maybe it's because portraits in a way lend themselves to be that way because it's a very close up shot of somebody. So it's hard to mess up composition. There's no like super hard perspective or anything like that. But in a way, I feel like,
It's pretty simple. It's one subject, but you definitely can play with like the angle of like the shoulders versus the head, and
mhm,
which side is which side is the primary light coming on,
yeah.
or like which side is the primary rim light coming in on.
Well, even with
Um,
looking up or down, just even doing that is a lot of makes a lot of difference. And it
oh
can
yeah,
like
huge difference.
yeah. And you can make somebody look super powerful or super not powerful, whatever the
Super weak.
super. Yes, thank you for. You do know English is not my first language, right?
I'd like to commission you for a portrait of me. I want you to make me look weak. I want the image of you looking down at me.
Oh my God. Well, I don't know. Maybe you wanna draw something with like a message about some type of feeling.
I guess. Sure, you just made that work.
Well, the thing about art
Congratulations.
is you can draw anything you want, really. So it's kind of what's cool about it.
Almost anything.
Almost.
No,
What would you not draw? Well, okay, I can think of
I'm just
certain
saying
things.
weird shit just to be weird.
Would you say your style in the way you draw portraits is something that you would like to change a lot in the future? Would that be a factor of your art since portraits are something that you want to consistently do over and over again, and it's the subject you really, really love? Would you say style is the one thing that you would be tweaking and changing as time goes by?
Yeah, I think because I'm not drawing like, new characters or like spreading a message really, I feel like that's kind of the only thing kind of going for me is like style stuff. So it's kind of really the main thing I focus on.
Hmm.
Um, so of course, yeah, I would want it to change and improve over time. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like in the last 2 days, I've kind of hyper focused on this of like trying to really understand your own sort of style and like kind of be more aware of what you're doing. I feel
Hmm.
like sometimes you can just draw and like things can happen by accident or whatever. But I feel like if you have a better understanding of what you're doing, the impact of what you're doing, you can kind of, better optimize certain aspects of it,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Would
Um,
you want to like get to a point where you have a set style that you really like and just try and replicate it every single time, or are you happy with just it evolving over time?
I mean, like, would anybody be happy with, you know, never improving or changing? I don't know.
Well, this is true.
I can't imagine anybody would.
When you ask it like that, of course. But I feel like it's definitely not our case, but I feel like there are some art accounts where they find what works for their audience and they just keep building on that. And it may
Okay, well, okay,
seem
there's a difference between desire and what makes you the most marketable.
it's true.
I want to keep changing and doing new things because it's novel and stimulating. But of
Hmm.
course, just doing the one thing that works well is going to make you be the most successful.
Yeah,
I
y-
think, and sometimes success and personal satisfaction are kind of at odds.
it's true. I definitely agree with that. And especially with something as social media where you are sort of only showing one side of yourself, it's hard to, capture everything from you or just show the entire process of your art, because sometimes people have expectations of what you have to put out, and things like sketches or just experiments that you may do with your art, you're not going to be posting all of those, right? So it's not the types of things that people will be looking at. They will be looking at like curated work.
Mhm. So you're saying that they don't have, or most people don't have an exposure to the more inner processes, like what goes into determining your
Yeah,
style.
well, yeah, and in some aspects, like just the work that goes into being an artist. I feel like some people look at really successful artists, they look at their work and I feel like they say, "Oh, they're so talented. That's how they must have always drawn."
Mhm.
When in reality, we all know it takes hours and hours of drawing and
Mhm.
drawing. So yeah, for sure. But what I'm also saying is you sort at least me, I do sort of want to be recognizable in a way. Not that I don't want my style to change over time,
Mhm.
but I want people to be able to be like, oh, this is this person's work. I can recognize it even if it evolves. I know who made it or
Mhm. Yeah. Right, if you're making similar, decisions or
Mhm.
prioritizing certain similar things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this. You were trying to figure out like what is that thing that maybe doesn't make you recognizable specifically, but like that people really like about your work. So even if your style is changing, you want to keep that like little aspect of the essence of what people like, what or what works with your art, like
Mhm.
what is pleasing to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I kind of had a period of time last year when I was drawing a lot and kind of developing the style. Lots happened and I've gotten busy since then.
Hmm.
I feel like in the last maybe like 5 months, I've just kind of been doing more sporadic, kind of more like style experiments, like
Yeah.
sort of like taking what I was doing last year and like doing more with one aspect, or exaggerating one aspect, or losing one
Mhm.
aspect, and just seeing how it turns out. Would definitely recommend. I mean, it's very. I feel like you learn a lot.
Yeah.
I don't
Would
really
you
know what I'm
say
saying.
would you say it's like a cool, or not a cool thing, but like would you recommend for people to maybe step back from their art for a little bit and then come back to it and see what has changed?
What do you mean? What has changed?
Like maybe if you step back from something that you're working in and then you go back to it a couple of days later, you look at it differently.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that
Yeah.
of course. But I think that's a different thing. That's more like just being able to evaluate, more
Hmm.
objectively
Yeah.
an image you're making versus just experimenting.
I'm super impatient with that. I never take the time to just wait and see art again. I just like want to get it out of my system and then
Yeah.
be over with it.
It could be worth it.
Do you like drawing several subjects at a time, or do you only focus on one drawing and then
Oh, that's an
next
interesting
one?
question. One at a time, for sure. I just don't have a ton of like free time, so
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It's very hard. I don't know what you do, but I feel like it would be very hard to put something down and then pick it up later. And like, I feel like so much would have been forgotten about like where you wanted to go with something. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I guess it could be good in another way because like you'll see things that maybe you didn't see. What do you do? Do you do
Well,
multiple drawings at once?
that's the thing that I was saying. Like I'm so impatient because I kind of want to capture that thing, that idea, that feeling, and not like let
Mhm.
it slip away. Uh,
Yeah,
by
that's where many late nights of drawing come from.
what?
That's where many late nights of drawing come from. It's
Yeah,
like I want to
exactly.
finish it. Like I don't
For
want to,
sure.
forget it.
And that's the thing that for me is hard to leave it alone and then go back to it, because once I go back to it, maybe I feel differently about it. Maybe what I had in mind has changed or I forgot. So I I do work uh, on several things at a time, but I always try to do as much as I can of each piece so that at least like 80% of the drawing is there. And then the remaining 20%, I just go back and forth between projects and just try and finish that 20% of each work
Hmm.
separately at the same time.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're working on like a whole bunch of different stuff, which is super cool.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Uh-huh.
lot. But it's fun. I like it. It's what I like to do. So,
I wanted to ask a question. So, um, I have been talking to people in general, just like trying to get a more um, honest and more objective take on like my art and what I'm doing. I feel like so often, at least on Instagram, when you're posting, nobody critiques you. Nobody like
mm,
it's all just like it's amazing. Every part of it is awesome. Yay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, cool, awesome, great. Love support. Where would you suggest going for more honest and helpful critiques? Because even in just the past few days, I've in trying to find more honest opinions, I've learned things. Ooh, um, oh no. Okay. Damn it. People have mentioned and brought up things that like I was completely blind to, and
Mhm.
I've like learned so much just from talking to people that like I haven't at all on my own.
Yeah. So you're asking me like where I suggest for you to go for critique?
Mhm. That's how
Well,
you would condense that like 2 minutes of asking a question.
just making sure I understood the question. Well, I would recommend actually there are some forums, but it's hard to find like specific ones that you might feel like work for you. But I would say maybe look into like an art Discord
Hmm.
where they have a specific channel for critiques.
Hmm.
Also Reddit might be a good place if people do pick up like your post, they might
Yeah.
critique it. There's
It's
probably,
there's some, but it's mostly just all, positive.
but I mean, you can also find. I hear this a lot in some podcasts that I listen to, and I don't think I've ever like attempted to do this, but everybody always recommends to look for maybe not a super big art account, but like a medium-sized one and find mentors and ask them, like reach out, ask
Oh, of
them
course, that's the
questions.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think I've ever done that, but I've definitely follow friends of mine who I feel are super talented, like you, and I feel comfortable enough. And I feel comfortable enough, asking for honest feedback. I know you definitely would give it to me if I asked you for that sort of thing. So that's a good
It
way.
sucks.
I knew it all along.
Trash it.
I knew it was trash. You just had to say it publicly in my podcast.
Uh,
Trash talk me. But yeah, I'd say find mentors, but also ask your friends if you have mutuals that
mhm.
also make art that are maybe I wouldn't I don't like when people say like, oh, find people at your same art level because it's
No,
kind
you need to find people that are more skilled than you, that understand more than you,
yeah, exactly. But
I
also
think.
I don't know if I would measure it in like levels because there might be somebody who is really good at shading or painting that doesn't necessarily understand anatomy so well, but
Yeah.
you could
Or
still
just,
learn
just,
something from them.
yeah, no, of course. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a, singular measure of skill. It's just
Hmm.
what different things you have experience in.
Exactly. Or just like I know you follow a diverse group of artists. I know I fall a little bit into following people that draw very similar things like me. But when you follow people that do very different things than what you're doing, maybe you can find a lot of value in somebody who maybe draws a lot of, I don't know, let's say abstract stuff, but their composition is amazing, and you want to learn what they're doing. Are they using a rule of thirds? Are they using like Fibonacci, or are they just doing it, and by with their
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
imagination? So yeah,
Yeah, I feel like a really good way for you to like get to know people and like really like talk to them would like you could almost create like a podcast where you would like invite people and like ask them questions and stuff. I think that'd be really cool. You should do that.
well, that was always my secret plan, just to make friends through my podcast and not be
Mhm.
so alone anymore.
You have to change it from the lonely artist to the artist.
I'm just gonna be like the desperate artist, like for friends, come
The
to my podcast.
desperate the desperate artist. I'm looking for friends. Please come to my.
Exactly, pretty please.
I was gonna cut that off in the middle.
That is sort of it when we're laughing about it, but when I thought about the podcast, I did think about just I don't think I'm at a level where I should be monologuing people to death about my art skills or my art journey because I'm not there yet. And I feel like there's more value in talking to people that are sort of on the same journey as I am and just learning different perspectives from them.
Hmm. Yeah, of course.
And you obviously don't have to start a podcast to be able to find mentors or find people who will help you.
I think it's a good format.
But it's
Um,
kind of cool. You could definitely maybe reach out to people through like, I don't know, some people do a lot of draw this in your style. And that could be a way of you can reach out to them if they notice your art and you could be like, hey, I really admire your work and kind of start a conversation from that there.
mm,
But please don't be the type of people who are like, hey, would you check my Instagram out and like it? It's like, oh man, I get so many messages like that sometimes. Have
mm.
you ever gotten
I mean
anything
that
like that?
there. I don't think. eh, Yeah, but I just think it's so plainly superficial. It's like who
Yeah,
cares?
exactly.
Um, yeah.
It just doesn't feel like real interaction, like you're actually talking to a person.
I just like I
Curious.
wonder if you like how much you stay in touch with the people you've interviewed and like have you been able to learn things from them of value and like like is there like applicable things that you've learned from the people you've interviewed?
Oh yeah,
Just
for
like
sure.
evaluating the
For
podcast.
sure. I think I've learned a lot about everybody who I've interviewed, and I feel like I've talked to all of them pretty often after interviewing them. Like maybe not every day, like some people, but I definitely talk,
What?
but I definitely talk often with a lot of the people that I've interviewed. There's definitely been maybe like a couple of people who are a bit more reserved, and I totally understand that, don't want to talk like all the time with you or anything like that. But they'll all be super kind enough to answer any questions I might have, or just keep talking to me if I text them, which is
Hmm.
great. It's better than I've ever experienced in my life. So, I'm winning at life. Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like it's like a super, like honestly, a smart format to be able to kind of learn more about somebody and their work.
mhm. Yeah, I can just trap
And
them for like an hour and ask them questions and they agree to it. It's great.
how do you come up with the questions?
I I kind of stalk them for a little bit,
Hmm.
look at who they are, what they post, and if I can find any snippets of information about anything regarding their lives, that'd be great because I can
Hmm.
ask, more interesting questions.
Hmm.
And then I, reach out to them, maybe try and talk a little bit more with them. If they have anything they want to promote, I'll definitely ask things regarding whatever it is that they want to promote. If not, I'll just try and come up with like questions that I would find interesting in a podcast. And that's what I do. There are a few questions. I think there are like 4 or 5 questions that I usually ask 10 questions, and like 5 questions are tailored to each individual that I interview. And then the other 5 questions are more like,
Hmm.
what are your inspirations, or who do you
Yeah.
look up to? Who do you recommend? And what magical powers you'd like to
I
have.
remember that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a fun question. I
Hmm.
kind of want to keep that question forever if I can.
Hmm.
I'm kind of afraid I'll interview somebody who's too serious and I'll get to that question and they'll
They'll
be
be
like,
like, "What?
"What?"
Excuse me, I'm a professional.
Exactly. Well,
How dare you ask me that?"
yeah. One thing
That's when you end the call.
yeah, one thing I would love to do, and I'm
Hmm.
hopeful that in the future it'll get to that point, is I would like to be able to interview people in real life and record that if I
Hmm.
could.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's hard, and especially right now with everything, people are not going out, and I'm at a place in Mexico where I don't really know any artists that I look up to that could be near me that I could interview.
Yeah.
But I do have some plans for the future. Haha, haha.
I
I can
think there's
travel.
some middle ground you could do, like with Zoom,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I'm doing right
like what
now.
we're doing right now.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm reading your
No, no,
mind.
we've just been saying the same thing for like 10 seconds. Well,
Well, I think this is a good moment to end the podcast. I think we've touched on a lot of subjects that are pretty interesting. And I have some subjects that I actually want to talk to you about for the next episode. Cliffhanger.
see, the more cliffhangers.
There's more
This is how
cliffhangers
you
here.
lit. Oh my
But I guess we'll do that on the next one.
God.
Thank
Hmm.
you, everybody who stayed here and listened to us chat. And we'll be seeing you for the next episode. Bye.